What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 39 of Buzzer Beaters, a podcast that's dedicated to basketball with an emphasis on the NBA. Grumblings Media brings you Buzzer Beaters, and we're a property of Grumblings Media. You can find us at grumblingsmedia.com. You can also find us at various podcast outlets that you can think of, such as Apple, Spotify, Google, Pandora, X, Facebook, you name it, we're there. If this is your first time here, we go about an hour and 30 minutes lately, all right? Our intent is to go an hour, but we have been definitely knee deep on some content that we spent the last 7 weeks. And if you haven't seen our show before, the last 7 weeks, we went through a very iterative process of identifying the best one-on-one player in the NBA in history, as well as the best starting five from a divisional standpoint in NBA history. And we concluded that last week, and it was a fun process, man. We went through that, and we crowned, for those of you who haven't, we're going to spoil it for those of you who haven't seen it, but it's good for you to see the process how we got there. But we crowned Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon as the best one-on-one player of all time, and it was down to him and Michael Jordan. And we used also some AI, right? We used AI. I know Twan was using Chat GPT. I don't know what are the ones he was using, but they all, at least Chat GPT supported the claim that Olajuwon was the best guy, right, amongst everybody that we faced him up against. So, but yeah, that was a fun process. And then we also crowned the best divisional team, which was the Central Division of the Eastern Conference, which was LeBron, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Reggie Miller, Isaiah Thomas, and Michael Jordan. So that was a fun process, man. Now we're gonna have to come up with something like that again. I know you came up with an idea last time, Swan, of maybe kind of coming up with like the worst draft pick for each franchise.
Or the biggest whiff.
Or the biggest bust, right?
The biggest whiff,
The biggest Ryan Leaf of basketball, the biggest Jamarcus.
Well, no, I was thinking, right? Eddie, like the biggest player that they should have drafted that they didn't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So we could do that.
Yeah, I'm thinking, for example, Charlotte should have never traded Kobe.
Oh, for sure. I got you. I got you. And the Warriors should have never drafted Todd Fuller, right? That's what you're getting
or we could have had Kobe, or never drafted Joe Smith. We could have had Kevin Garnett or
whoever, right? Right. So
on and on.
But anyway, we wanted to kind of give you an idea of what we talked about for the last 7 weeks. And this week, we're actually getting close to the NBA playoffs. We're for most teams, about 25 to 26 games away from the end of the regular season. And what we're going to go over today's show, we're going to have three topics in particular that we're going to go over. We're going to cover the NBA playoff races in both conferences. Yes. We actually broke down some analytics, too, from each of the conferences. We're going to look at the conferences from a different analytics standpoint, kind of compare and contrast some of these top 10 teams only. We're only focusing on the teams that are actually vying for playoff position. 11 through 15 are not part of this conversation, all right? But we're going to focus on that. We're going to compare the conferences on an analytical basis as well, analytics basis, I should say. And then we're going to dovetail into something that we've been doing on a monthly basis. And we've been covering the rookies on an analytics basis. We have essentially minutes played, and then also the points per game. We rank them from 1 to 10, and then we have full overall analytics. From rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, all these things, and how they're ranked on that point, from that standpoint, and then how they rank, how that rankings compares to the one that NBA.com does every month, which is the NBA rookie ladder. So we're going to do a comparison of that. We do this on a monthly basis, just kind of see if we can predict who's going to be the NBA rookie of the year, right? And then the last one is, we always do this. We cover the segment. Twan and I have had this contest, over the last since the beginning of the season, where we picked a rookie team of 5, and then we've been keeping track of their stats, and then kind of see how we're kind of competing against each other. And then we also picked teams in the conference and how we thought they were going to be seeded at the beginning of the season, and then we're going to see how we're at right now. And it's been moving on a month or a day-to-day basis, really. So But anyway, Twan, that's where we're going to start off with. So before we get into it, man, how you been, man? What's been going on with you, man?
I've been good. I wanted to tell you a little story. So after we did our best one-on-one, I went a little YouTube surfing, right?
Yeah.
And I found this YouTube where and I give him credit, but I don't remember his name. he did a whole one-on-one on like NBA 25, 2K 25.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever,
that was the impetus of why that motivated me to do that. This whole
correct.
process.
So he did it, and I'm going to give you 3 guesses as to who you think won.
I know who won. It was Shaquille O'Neal.
That's right. You saw it. Okay.
I saw that one. That was what prompted me to do this, and because I'm like, Shaquille O'Neal, come on, man, no way, right?
That's what I'm thinking. No way.
Yeah, there's no way, man. I mean, he would have ran out of gas, dude. It's losers outs, right?
Well, and in that game there was some surprise. Like Anthony Davis knocked out Akeem. He knocked out a couple of different guys. Kevin Garnett, who you and I had an argument about.
Right.
In terms of Durant Garnett one-on-one.
Right.
He knocked out some people. So it was pretty interesting watch. If I see another one, I'll kind of watch a different one. But I thought I agree with you. I'm like, there's no way in hell Shaq's gonna win.
No way, man. No way. I agree with you, man. There's no way.
Yeah.
I mean, his biggest skill was that he was 340 pounds, man. That's his biggest skill.
Correct.
And he actually was pretty agile for his size, right?
Yeah.
So before I forget though, we are live, and we are live because we want to hear from you. We are live here every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday, except next Wednesday, right? Next Wednesday, we're going to take a week off. And the reason being is because my daughter is going on spring break, and she's flying up here on Friday night. And then we're departing to Arizona on Saturday, coming back next Thursday. So we already told the producers we're taking the week off. Tuan, hopefully you can kind of have some form of spring break for yourself next week.
Yeah. We'll see what I can do.
Yeah. But anyway, so we're going to take a break. But anyway, we want to hear from you. We had a lot of commentary over since we did that whole segment of the best one-on-one and best divisional team. We had a lot of participation from people who listen to the show, which is great. We invite that. We definitely want to hear more commentary. What are the things that you like about our show? What are the things you'd like to see us improve on? These are the things we're here for you. So we're here to bring in NBA content primarily. We do dibble and dabble in NCAA men's tournament as well as WNBA, but when it's appropriate, right? We don't do it every now and then. But the NCAA tournament's coming up here in a few weeks, Tuan. So we're gonna have to focus on that pretty soon, man.
Yep, we're gonna have to.
Yeah, for sure, man. So all right, well, so let's go ahead and dovetail into what we're going to talk about this week. So
I wanted to touch on 3 subjects really quick
before we get into it.
Before we get into it, just quick. So I wanted to talk about, I think both of us, but I'll speak for myself. 3 mistakes or 3 things I called wrong. After the NBA trade deadline. All right? We'll start with the first most obvious one. I didn't like the
Butler trade, dude. Yeah,
I didn't like it.
I
thought it wouldn't work.
Dude, most Warrior fans didn't like it.
Yeah, and I think it's still too early to say, yay, it was a total victory. But there's a couple of things. There's a couple of things that came out of that,
right?
That kind of surprised me. The first thing is Jimmy Butler's ability to be where they're not. Like he has an innate ability to move around where they're not using space. And for the Warriors, it's traditionally been in the key. So he hovers in the key, and so he fills that all right. That's surprise number 1. Surprise number 2 is in my wildest dreams that I never, and I don't mean this as an insult, but I never thought that Draymond would turn into fangirl for Jimmy Butler.
Oh my God, he is though. That's a good call.
In a million years, I did not see that.
But you know what? I'm wondering if that's like sincere Draymond, that he's being fanboy to him, or if he's being told by the organization, look, man, we made this big deal. You have a volatile personality. He does too. We need to make this work. So you better chill out. Who knows, man? Something like that.
But if you look at history, Eddie, when has Draymond ever cared what the franchise wanted? I mean, he threw so many people under the bus. He says things on his podcast. I mean, he'll say whatever the hell's on his mind. And he genuinely looks like he looks up to Jimmy Butler. Like
I agree with that. And Lewis chimes
there he is. Hey, Lewis.
I think all 3 of us were anti-Butler, but he surprised the heck out of me.
Yes,
absolutely, Lewis. And all of my buddies who are also Warrior fans, they also said the same thing. We just did not see this thing happening. But to get back to the point we were talking about, I think, Steph Curry probably had a say in this, right? He's probably putting his foot down a little bit and saying, look, Draymond, as much as Curry can put his foot down, really, right?
Yeah.
But when he talks, people listen because he doesn't really say too much, like, controversially, right? He's pretty even keeled. He's a corporate guy. He's a great face for the NBA, right? Great, probably one of the greatest faces we've ever seen in the NBA history, right? By far, right? But I think he probably told Draymond, "Look, yo, man, look, I understand, but we got to make this thing work, man. We only got a few years left. Let's make this count, man." He could have easily said that, right? And Draymond
I hear you, Eddie. But the thing that I keep thinking about is Draymond ran up against the guy.
Yeah.
That Draymond doesn't like. So Draymond's not tougher than Jimmy Butler.
No, we don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, I'll put it to you this way: Jimmy
Butler's man. We don't know.
Jimmy Butler's not taking any smack.
He's not going to take any smack.
Okay,
we don't. Right. Yeah.
So he's at minimum as tough as Draymond, if not tougher.
They're about the same size, right? They're similar size.
I would say he's the more talented player. He's overall, I mean, Draymond's the better defensive player. But
sure.
but Jimmy Butler's like a better version of Draymond. Like he makes Draymond
absolutely. I agree.
He makes Draymond less necessary.
No, you pointed that out last show. He is a better version of Draymond Green from an offensive standpoint. I wouldn't say he's a better version of Draymond Green from a defensive standpoint.
But he provides enough defense.
He does provide enough defense, right? But Draymond's a whole nother level of defense, right? We just know he is, right? But
so I just think, I think Draymond knows this, and that's why Draymond is kind of paying his respects to Jimmy Butler. Like, I think Draymond knows that Jimmy makes Draymond less necessary.
It's possible, man. But you could definitely see the fanboy kind of tendencies that Draymond's showing, because he is totally agreeing to everything that Jimmy Butler seems to be the alpha dog of the team right now, man, honestly. He does, right? He just seems like he's taking on that role. And I don't know if it's organically or if it was forced. We'll find out, right?
But I didn't see that coming at all.
I didn't either, man. All right. So what was another point you wanted to bring up?
Second wrong thing that I was wrong about was I thought the Lakers would suck this year from here on out.
Right.
And they haven't.
No.
They haven't. They have
but you know what, though? It's going to be
no low post defense.
Yeah.
And freaking LeBron. I mean, that dude is just, as much as I hate to,
he's incredible, man.
He's incredible.
No, he is incredible. He's incredible. And I dude, as Warrior fans, we can't like LeBron, man.
No, we can't, but he is an incredible basketball player.
Game, dude. I respect him as a basketball player, okay? Because the things that he is doing at his age, and that dude looks like he can play for another 5 years, man. Easy. I mean, he's not even showing any signs of slowing down. He's shooting better than he ever has in his life, man. Yeah. He can shoot, right? And, Luka kind of takes off a lot of the burden from him to have to do everything, right?
Correct.
Luka has been fitting in. I mean, they've won 3 in a row. All right, they've been winning. So they've been winning.
And Luka's just getting warmed up.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? He's looking more svelte, man. He's looking like he's cut down with some poundage, right?
He heard the rumors. His ears were like.
He's getting the LeBron training program, bro.
Right.
I mean, he's
LeBron
probably waking up doing all kinds of stuff, man. Yeah. So, all right. Any other points you want to bring up?
So the third one, and this one's a little bit more circumstantial, which was the opposite of the Lakers, which I thought Dallas was going to be significantly better. Now, they got a bunch of injuries, which shouldn't shock anyone. But, man, all 3 of their bigs are out.
Dude.
So they're heading downhill, which I thought they were going to – I was worried more about them than I was about the Lakers. I thought they were going to kind of
but you know what? Dallas is going to get Gafford back. They're going to get Davis back. I think Davis is probably about another 3 weeks to 4 weeks away, right? We know Lively's out for the season, right?
Correct.
He has some kind of stress fracture. He's done. Then you have Dwight Powell, who doesn't really play that much, right? He's out of Stanford. He's a local kid. He was out too. So, but the fact that they're playing this well still without those guys impresses me. That tells me that when those guys come back, they are a freaking problem, dude.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They are a problem, right?
They are, but it is a significantly different style they're going to play when the big guys are back. They're playing small ball. They're playing Nelly ball right now, which, as we know historically, that's a much stronger offensive. You're going to get a lot more offense out of a small ball team than you would out of a bigger team. But when those guys come back, their defense is going to go up, and we're going to see how much, if any, their offense will suffer.
We'll see, man. But their analytics show pretty well, and that's what we're going to go ahead and jump into.
Yes,
man. So
let's go ahead.
Go ahead and jump into the first slide that I sent you. So what we're going to go over is we're going to go over the Eastern Conference first, but we broke it down, and just for those of you that have your phones, you're probably going to have to zoom in a little bit on the screen, and maybe for those of you on PCs. Maybe you have to zoom in a little bit. We try to make this as least of an eye chart as possible. Okay, so
it's hard though.
What it is, yeah. So what I wanted to show you here is so that I can break down what everybody's seeing here is that we're breaking down the Eastern Conference. These are the top 10 teams as it stands today before the game started today, right? So you can see on the far left 1 through 10. That's how they're seated, right? Then I went through different categories. There are 6 different categories here. So we have offensive rating, which the show we've gone through this multiple times. So you guys all should be pretty familiar with what that term is. But you can see offensive rating, and then right to the left of that is the rank. That's what RK means, is rank. So you can see how they rank in the entire NBA. It's not per conference, it's in the entire NBA. Then you go to the defensive rating, and again, the rank. Then you have net rating, again, the rank, and then true shooting percentage. Okay, now true shooting percentage is an analytics type of stat that measures the efficiency of a player's ability to score 2-pointers, 3-pointers, and free throws, taking attempts into consideration. And there's a bunch of other little formulas here that come into it, but that's a true reflection of how a team can shoot. Okay, that's what we used. And then free throw percentage is the next one and how they're ranked. And then the starters, like the points that the starters on that team score on a nightly basis and how they rank against everybody else in the NBA. And finally, the bench. Okay, you can see how they rank. Now, you can see here, bro, that in the top, to me, out of all of these, different statistical categories, the one that doesn't lie is net rating, bro. Net rating is the one that tells you how good a team really is. And if you look at, the Cavs, the Celtics, the Knicks, those are all single-digit net rating guys, right? All of them. Now, you can see, look at the Cavs, 11.1. Now, last year, the Boston Celtics broke it at 11.7, which is crazy. We're going to go to the West, and that's even better when we get to the West. But you can see that.
Well, what's scary, Eddie, is the Cavs are 11.1, and they're second ranked.
No, isn't that crazy, man? That's who number one is. That tells you who number one is. And by the way, for those of you who don't know how net rating is calculated, you just look at the offensive rating, defensive rating, and you subtract one from the other, right?
Yep.
And that's going to give you, if it's the offensive ratings higher than the defensive rating, you're going to get a net rating that's positive. And if it's the other way around, like you can see with the Pacers at number 4, that's actually supposed to be a negative 0.8, which I did not see, but that should be a negative 0.8 there and not a positive 0.8 because 115.1 is greater than 114.5. Therefore, it's a negative from a defensive standpoint. But you can see that, you look at all of these categories and net rating doesn't lie. Now, what's interesting is that going into the other, like the far right, as you're looking at the screen.
Yep.
If you look at like the starters and the bench, man, this is an interesting trend, bro.
This is I paid quite a bit of attention to this.
Oh, it's crazy, man. Go ahead.
So a couple of things that you can come out of this, right? So I'm gonna play both sides of the fence here. So argument number 1, when you get to the postseason, your rotation tightens up, right? So it tightens up to maybe 7-8 players max. Right. So the bench plays a lesser of a role. But at the same time, how tired are your starters when they're carrying the burden throughout the whole season? Throughout the regular season. And how hosed are you if one of your starters gets hurt?
Correct.
Because now you're pulling in 4 guys from the bench, which is really close to what your rating is going to be now, right? Because let's say you got an 8-man rotation, one guy gets hurt, one guy gets pulled up, you still have an 8-man rotation, you got 4 bench players that you're playing. So I'm really going to be curious because the Knicks, and you and I have had this conversation a lot. I just think that the Knicks, they get tired when it gets to the postseason because they're just the starters are worked to death.
I think Thibodeau runs like a 6-man rotation on most nights, man.
Exactly. Guy, right? He is killing them. But the one that shocked me were the Celtics. Because the Celtics, we think they're a pretty well-rounded team. They got a lot of good bench players, but their bench is 26th in the league in terms of scoring, which is incredible.
I agree, man. That was surprising when you look at this. But you know what this shows me, bro, is that the Cavaliers are the team to beat.
Yes.
I mean, you look at their starters and their bench, dude, it's pretty even, dude.
Correct.
I mean, that tells me that, this team is deep and they're a problem. And then you look at their true shooting percentage, they're number 1. I mean, they're blowing teams out because they shoot so well, right? Now, their free throw percentage isn't the best. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean if your free throw percentage is good that you're going to be a better team because look at the Chicago Bulls. They're number 2 in the entire NBA, and they're at 83.5, and they're the 10th ranked team. So it's, free throws is a part of the game. It's not a big part of the game, right?
My rule is typically if you can hover around the 80 percentile in free throws, you're all right.
you're doing pretty good, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And you can look at most of these guys right here. If you look at the entire Eastern Conference, there's only 2 teams that are in the 80% range. Everybody else is below 80%, right? So yeah, very interesting, man. So all right, so anything else stand out to you as you look as you were looking through this?
No, the bench. Obviously, we're not going to. I mean, we don't want to, like you said, we don't want to throw over a lot of stats. But one thing that's obviously important to free throw percentage as well is how often a team goes to the line. Like, how many times a game are they fouled, right?
Yeah.
So if you're like the Pistons and you're shooting 83%, but you only get fouled 5 times a game,
doesn't mean jack.
You're only shooting 5 free throws a game, but yet if you're the Cavs, you're 78 and you're going to the line 20 times a game.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's a huge.
That's a better indicator, right?
Yeah,
so those are easy
so you
points,
really need to know how often a team's getting to the line.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me answer this. Now I tried to kind of put a little box, there for 7 through 10, right? And it kind of got in the way for looking at the either the 7
formatting. It's going to be a formatting.
Right? Formatting's a little jacked. But there's a line there for a reason, because those are the teams that are in the play-in right now. What's interesting though, bro, is that the Magic have fallen big time, dude. All right. But if you look at their composition of their team as far as analytics standpoint, they're number 2 defensive rating in the entire NBA. Yes. They're a defensive-minded team. It's just their offense. That's how I thought that they were going to make a trade, man. I thought they needed some more offensive firepower. I mean, granted, they did have offensive firepower when, Banchero and Wagner were there, right? But then they got hurt, right? And then, they were hurt for a long period of time. And that was we thought a blessing in disguise, because that would have helped all these other guys, kind of get their games going. But then Jalen Suggs gets hurt too. I mean, this team is just completely like, they're snake bitten, man, right now. Yeah. So, but there's still a problem. But when we first started covering, we started doing this, they were the 4th seeded team, and they have just fallen.
No, I agree. Right? And one thing to note is you and I both know, and I'm sure a lot of people that will be watching this know, defense travels. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Magic get, I don't want to say upset, but they upset some games or make a first round tough, because right now they would they would host the Bulls, right? If it ended today, they would host the Bulls at home in the play-in game, and then the winner of if the Bulls win, then the Bulls got to play the winner of the Hawks Heat, and so on and so forth. But if the Magic win, then they move on. So when you have a solid defensive team, and if you look, right, again, who's the number 1 defensive team? They're not on here. They'll come in the next slide.
They're coming in the next slide.
Like you said, they're the 2nd best defensive team, and that does count for something.
It does count for something.
I think that if they can get their offense going, because Banchero had a hell of a postseason last year.
For sure.
He really shown out. So if he does something like that, then I think they got the makeup of a team that could upset somebody who's higher ranked than them.
Yeah, and there's a reason why they are ranked so low offensively. I mean, they weren't a juggernaut last year either, right? But there's a reason, is because their top players were out for a long period of time, man, and everybody else had to kind of step up and did their best to kind of maintain their position, and couldn't. But now all these guys got reintegrated. They have to kind of readjust, and I think they're going to be a problem.
I think so
the
too.
Play and playoff start. So, but one other thing I want to point out, bro, is the team that you were very high on before the season started, man, and you are showing out, bro. All right, the Pistons, dude.
The Pistons.
Oh my God! I mean, they are vying for potentially going up to the 5th seed. They're only
they are.
Against the Bucks, right? So this team has just been rolling. Cade Cunningham has arrived, dude. Okay, that guy is a stud. He is a stud, right? And he's a very good player. And they have a good balanced team, right? So and their metrics will show so. I mean, like, you look at their offensive rating, 14, that's middle of the pack. Defense, middle of the pack. Net rating, middle of the pack. They're a team that's on the rise. They're middle of the pack for every category, essentially, right? They're telling you that they're a dangerous team, man. So
correct.
So okay, do you see them continue to climb, or do you think that's where they're going to?
No, I think we talked about this maybe a week or 2 ago. No, I think their best case scenario to stay where they're at. I don't know if
they might go to 5.
They might catch the Bucks, but then go above them and then drop below. But I think ultimately they end up in the 6th seed, somewhere 6, 7 seed is where I would. No, I don't think they would end up at the 5. They might. I might be wrong, but I want to be clear. They were my team to watch. I didn't think it was like this.
I know. I didn't either.
I thought maybe they'd be in the 8-9 conversation, kind of deal. Especially given how horrible their record was last year. That's where I thought they were. So they've even superseded what I thought they would do.
Well, I'm conceding that bet to you already, bro.
All
Okay,
right.
because I picked the Blazers to be, better than them.
Which they are. They are
Better like than they
Yes.
were last year. Both teams
They're
are better
just
than
not. They're
last year.
not doing as well as the Pistons.
I said the Blazers are going to be better than the Pistons, right?
Yes, correct.
And
Yeah.
you're right because the Blazers play in the Western Conference, the Pistons play in the Eastern Conference. Eastern Conference has three really good teams, right? Okay,
Yep.
Really two that are like outstanding, right? And
Yep.
the Knicks being a team that, which is interesting if you look at their analytics. Tom Thibodeau is usually a very defensive-minded coach, and look at the analytics here, man.
Yeah.
They're like the 22nd rated defense in the entire NBA, and now they become all of a sudden this offensive juggernaut of a team with the third rated best team.
Well, that's the Karl Anthony Towns effect right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right,
I
man.
still think, and I don't know if you saw this stat. They posted it when the Knicks were getting blown out by the Celtics. The Knicks they're like 0-7 against the top seeded teams in the East.
Oh, interesting.
They haven't won.
Wow.
They haven't won head to head against these guys. So that's going to be interesting to see. But until Thibodeau can expand his bench, I would feel a lot better if his bench was somewhere in the low 20s, high teens. Somewhere in that.
As far as rankings, you're talking about.
Yeah,
right?
as far as rankings, yeah.
Not
he's
dead last.
distributing the weight a little bit,
Yeah, not dead last.
Yeah, exactly. Like dead last.
Yeah, and you know what surprised me? And by the way, are any other comments before we go to the Western Conference?
No, I just one thing to note. It's not on here. I mean, I think it's over for them, but there is still the wild card. If Philadelphia decides to get their act together, they could sneak their head.
Yeah, but they're going to shut down Joel Embiid, dude.
It hasn't been confirmed. They're going to see if he needs surgery or whatever. But
it's coming, man.
Once he's gone, it's over. Paul George is talking about like how this team doesn't have what it takes to be a champion, and they don't practice right, and they're like, so they're already like I think Morey's going to get fired. I think they're gonna do something in the offseason. But
and by the way, that's the name of the GM that we're trying to figure out. You're Morey. It was Daryl Morey, like
Morey,
the Sixers GM, right?
Yeah.
Like, who's that guy? You're Houston. I'm like, I don't remember, right?
Yeah.
It was Daryl Morey.
James Harden's best friend.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's segue to the West. And the reason why I want to segue to the West is because the point that I was about to make here is that the Knicks, right? The Knicks had the 30th worst bench in the entire NBA. And what surprised me is I thought the Denver Nuggets were going to be the team with the worst bench because we were talking that they were a team that were going to struggle because they just didn't have any bench depth at all, right? At all. But you can see here
Thank you, Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, exactly. But they're the third rated team in the conference right now. So, you can see the 1 through 10, the Kings being the 10th and then Thunder being the first. But you can see if you look at the third row, that's the Nuggets. But at the far right of that is the bench scoring. And you can see that they're the 27th ranked bench, which I thought they'd be number 30. So the fact that the Kings are actually tied with the freaking with the Knicks because in this the 30th ranked but you can see right there the starters that's complete.
So one's 29 and one's 30, but
correct, right. So exactly right. But anyway, as you noted here earlier, the Lakers, they have definitely played well. I mean, and considering losing an Anthony Davis, a defensive anchor like that, and bringing someone who's more offensive oriented, not necessarily a defensive guy, and Luka Doncic, and really don't have any centers to think of on that team. They're playing way out of their minds right now, man.
They are.
JJ Redick has done a good job in bringing that team together, man. You got to give kudos to them, man. Big time.
I agree. You have to give him kudos. I didn't think he'd do well, and he's doing much better than I thought.
Right. But let's get to look at the analytics, right? We talked about the net rating of last year that Boston Celtics got 11.7, a record. These guys are at 12.8, a full 1.1 better than that in the Oklahoma City Thunder. That is crazy. Look at their defensive rating at 106, right?
Which, if you recall on the previous slide, the Magic are number 2, and they're at 109. They're 3 points less.
Exactly.
3 points less than the next team. That's insane.
But this team is so deep. And what surprises me about this is that, you would think that their bench would be ranked higher than it is because they're such a deep team. And it's probably a byproduct of Chet Holmgren being out, then Isaiah Hartenstein, he would have been the bench player coming off the bench for the most part. Yep. You're starting to see that now. I'll see that number starting to climb, I think, in the ensuing weeks. But, I would say that would probably inch more towards like maybe like the 15 to 16 range, right? Which is respectable, right?
That is, yeah. But if you can stay in the middle of the pack on the bench scoring, I think that's a good place.
Yep. And then the other one is, okay, the looking at the bench scoring on that column again, Look at number 1, the Warriors.
The Warriors.
Right? Warriors. Number 2, the Grizzlies. Now,
Correct.
when I saw this, I thought the Grizzlies would be number 1, honestly. When I first kind of started thinking about it without looking at the stats, I'm thinking the Grizzlies are super deep, man. They have so many players that are good on that team. And I'm thinking they're the team, but the Warriors are actually the team with the depth.
I'll tell you an interesting little thought that came across my mind, Eddie. So, obviously we're Warriors fans, and we know a lot about the Warriors. The Warriors have had something like 34 to 37 different starting lineups.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious as to how you decipher is it just who happens to be on the bench at that particular game?
It's a good question. It's probably minutes played. It probably comes down to they probably have some kind of barometer of how many minutes a starter typically plays, and that's probably how they figure that out. That's probably the only way I think you can figure that out, honestly, bro.
Yeah, because then if that's true, I mean, we're gonna have some kind of because the Warriors start a lot of different lineups, and so it's just gonna be interesting how they calculate that. Yeah.
I hear you, man. But check this out. One thing I want to point out here, bro, is you look. We focused on net rating, right, in the Eastern Conference. You look at this right here, the net rating in the Western Conference.
Yes.
There are 4-5 single-digit teams.
Correct.
Right, in net rating in the Western Conference. This tells you this freaking conference is strong, man. It's like, and the Lakers are not even that far behind it. They could easily get there. So the net rating doesn't lie. It tells you how good a team really is, right? Correct. And that's what you want to focus on to see how good a team really is. All these other factors, true shooting percentage, free throw percentage, starters, bench, that's just a supplement, that number, right?
Yeah, they end up towards that number.
Correct. They supplement and help you, give you some context as to why their net rating is what it is. Okay.
Correct.
But net rating is the true determinator of how good a team is. And the Western Conference is completely ridiculous, right? From that standpoint. Now,
and to note, 2 teams in the Western Conference, the Rockets and the Clippers, have been slipping as of late.
Yep.
So had we grabbed these numbers maybe 2 weeks ago, they would have been better than they are now. I think for those particular teams, they probably would have been a little higher ranked.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And check this out. So the other team I want to point out to, the Mavs. The Mavs have been slipping, and it's predominantly, I think, because a lot of their bigs are out. Really, right? Yep. That's a big part of the reason why they're losing. And there's the Luka Doncic effect. And of course, I'm sure there's a total hangover, from the entire city still mourning, of Luka Doncic when he left, right? So
I'd be mourning
big time, man. I mean, but it's had a big effect on the organization, right? You can just see it's weighing them down a little bit, and it's kind of, I think this is kind of a lasting effect of that. So the Cavs
I think it wouldn't have weighed them down if Anthony Davis didn't get hurt.
Yeah, I agree with you.
They would have had something to look for. Right now, all they can do is just think of what was.
I agree with you. But another team that's been slipping are the Kings, because the Kings started out pretty hot once Doug Christie took over for Mike Brown as the coach. They were on a tear, and then of course De'Aaron Fox got traded. Now De'Aaron Fox got traded. That's a big impact to that team, because now they really don't have a true point guard. They don't. They have Malik.
They got Malik Monk running the point.
Who's trying to run the point. It's kind of a new position for him. He can do it, but he's not like, he was never kind of deemed the guy, right? As a point guard. Yeah. Now he's the guy. He's predominantly like a 6 man of the year scoring kind of guy. And I think either one of us picked him as a 6 man of the year. I think it might have been you. I'm not sure. I think I picked Benedict Mathurin. And I forgot who you. Oh, I think you picked the Dante DiVincenzo. That's who you picked.
Yeah, I picked Dante.
Yeah, and he's kind of in and out of the starting
lineup. And then also with the Kings, I mean, he just scored a 40-point game against the Charlotte, but Zach LaVine has been playing pretty horribly outside of that game. He hasn't been doing very well, so far.
And DeMar DeRozan and him played with the Chicago Bulls, right? Yep. So essentially, the Sacramento Kings are Chicago Bulls of the West.
Yeah, all they need is Valanciunas, and they're good to go.
All right, so looking at the trends of this conference, all right, do you see the seedings essentially continue to where it's at? The top three teams I think are probably pretty much going to stay put. Now the 4, 5, and 6, the Warriors are definitely, that's their goal, is to get to the 6th seed. And what helps is that the Mavs have slipped, the Kings have slipped, the Spurs have slipped. The Clippers are a team that was always kind of dangerous, and once Kawhi Leonard comes through, they're going to be even more dangerous. And Kawhi Leonard is there, but he still kind of takes some time off sometimes on certain nights, because his knee still causes some problems, right, for him.
Yep.
But the Rockets have slipped. and then the Wolves are starting to kind of figure things out too, because they've been kind of like lingering around 500 for most of the year, but they've been kind of starting to figure it out lately, and they seem to be a team on the rise. And if you look at their analytics here, it shows you that from an offensive rating standpoint, they're 12, and then from a defensive rating, they're 7th, which is respectable, right? And that rating of 8. They're the only team that's in single digits in the play-in box right now. That tells you that this team is probably doesn't really need to be there. They're probably going to start rising. In my opinion, I think they're the team that the Warriors and the Wolves are the teams that to look out for. That I think are going to continue to rise.
What I would say, one thing that I would use the stats to look at, and that would be anybody who's got a above 500 record, which is I think everybody on this chart.
Yep.
Like the Lakers are winning games, but their defensive net rating or their overall net rating is 1.3, which means they're winning a lot of close games. Like that's really what that means. And so when I look at that, I think at some point, does that balance itself out? Do they start to lose some of those close games? So I would take a look at that. I think the Clippers and the Rockets are going to drop below your line. And I think that the Warriors and Wolves are going to go above your line. And I think if the Mavs get their people back, they run a chance of getting up that line as well.
Absolutely. The Mavs scare me, man. I mean, that team, they have a lot of good players that are not like all-star quality type players. They just have a lot of good players, man. Like a lot of good deep. They're just a deep team, and
but let me ask you this, Eddie: do they scare you if they don't have Anthony Davis on the court?
They scare me as being kind of like a Memphis Grizzly-like kind of composition team. They're very similar, right? Because the Memphis Grizzlies, being the number 2 team in the West, they don't really have any really all-star kind of guys that are consistent, right? John Morant's probably the most flashiest guy, and then Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. is probably the other guy. Then you have another guy, Desmond Bane, who kind of shows flashes here and there. But then after that, it's a bunch of guys that are good.
And they've had 2 rookies, Wells and Edey, that have been playing very well.
Wells has been playing very well. He's played very well.
But again, you're right. They have one superstar in John Morant. They've got a starter that would start for any team in Triple J. And then after that, you're right. They just got some dudes.
Exactly. A bunch of good dudes, though.
Yeah.
Not just a guy like, Charles Barkley says.
Yeah. Not other dudes, good dudes.
That's why the Mavericks are similar to me.
But to me, I think the difference between being successful or not, it comes down to Anthony Davis's availability. Even if they get Lively, well, Lively's not coming back, but even if they got Lively and Gafford back, that's still not enough. To me, they have to have Anthony Davis.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Anthony Davis is a team changer when he's healthy.
Yeah.
Right?
And we know how often that is.
Yeah. But he was a big reason why. I mean, we know Steph Curry just lit it up in Team USA, in the finals. But Anthony Davis was a big part of the reason why that team was successful.
He was the secret MVP.
Absolutely, man. Man. All right, man. So any other comments before we dovetail to our next segment?
No, again, same observation as I did. I'm going to be really curious to see how the Lakers and Nuggets do in the postseason. They rely heavily on their starters. What's going to be interesting is LeBron James throughout the regular season, a little bit more each year, calculates his energy. He plays less defense, plays less games. I'm curious as to how he's going to manipulate that in the postseason. And if he takes some time off, that means they're going to have to depend on their bench. And I think the Lakers, that could be an issue for them.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. And they're also a very top-heavy team, with respect to just Luka and LeBron. And then, of course, Austin Reeves has actually shown out to be a pretty damn good player. So I would say those are the big 3. And after that, they have a bunch of guys, but they're not guys like the Mavericks and the Memphis Grizzlies, right?
Well, they have excellent 1, 2s, and 3s, right? They got excellent 1, 2s, and 3s. When they get to the 4s and the 5s, things start getting a little hazy. And then the Nuggets, Jamal Murray has been, I wouldn't say he's injury prone, but he's been hurt significant amount of time the last 3 or 4 years. And so, if he comes out, that means Russell Westbrook's going to have to fill in. What does that do? Does that put more pressure on the bench? So those 2 teams are going to be interesting. And, one thing I found fascinating was, the Lakers beat the Nuggets a couple of days ago, earlier in the week. And they hadn't beat them in a long time. And so that's the kind of the Luka effect. So that's going to be interesting because, the Nuggets were definitely the Lakers' kryptonite the last couple of years.
Yep. No, I agree with you, man. I agree,
Yeah.
man. So
Yeah.
right on, man. So let's
All right.
let's move on to the next segment. So this is a oh no, sorry, we didn't go to the next segment. This is okay. The reason why I want to show this, let me take this thing off here.
Yeah.
So this is the comparison of the two conferences, and the highlighted area is what I kind of wanted, the audience to focus on. You can see that for all the different categories that we have, offensive, defensive, net, true shooting percentage, all the way down to the bench. What I wanted to show is kind of how they compare and contrast to each other. So if you look at the offensive rating, they're really close, okay? But it looks like the Western Conference collectively, from the top 10 team standpoint, they're slightly better, okay? If you look at the defensive rating, again, the collective, they're slightly better at 111.88 average. There's 113.12, which would put them at 10, as an average, whereas 13 ranked for the Eastern Conference. This is kind of showing you the strength of the conferences between them. But look at the net rating, bro. Net rating is huge. Look at that.
Almost 2 points.
It's almost 2 points better. Exactly. Between the East and the West. That tells you, the West is significantly stronger. Now, all these other ancillary categories, they're nice to know, right? But, it looks like the Eastern Conference slightly is better from a true shooting percentage standpoint.
What's interesting, Eddie, about that one, right?
Yeah.
Both true shooting and free throw percent. Well, maybe not free throw percentage, but true shooting. That is a direct correlation on how good the defense is. So I would expect
the defense that they play against.
Correct, but if the Eastern Conference has a worse defense as a whole, they're going to have a better true shooting percentage. Yeah,
correct.
So I would expect that to be that way, right? I would expect them to have a better shooting percentage because they're playing against weaker defenses.
Right. And what's interesting is look at the free throw disparity. The free throw percentage disparity between the two. It's huge. The Eastern Conference is significantly better on the top 10 teams. For almost 3 points better. And then the bench versus the starters. I mean, the starters look, more, they look stronger in the West. But just like four slots better, right? Like, 3 points better. And then the bench players in the East tend to be a little bit better than the West. So I just want to kind of break it down. So since we kind of spent some time putting these numbers together.
I like this.
Compare and contrast the conference.
Well, this is going to be great when the postseason start to see how these things play out in the postseason.
Yeah, exactly. Because everything slows down. The bench probably doesn't take as much of a role. The starters kind of take a much role, but as you pointed out, for the regular season, if you see the starters being a team that's very dependent on their starters, that means that team has probably got a bunch of worn out starters that are not necessarily ready. To be going on a long run in the playoffs, right? So
exactly. I'm really going to be interested in telling how offensively impacted or how tired the offenses are when we get to the postseason for those teams that have lower ranked benches. And in this case, the Knicks, the Celtics, the Nuggets, and the Lakers. I would say that those 4 teams are going to be interesting to watch in the postseason.
Yep, for sure, man.
Yeah.
All right, man. So that covers our segment on the NBA playoff races. Let's go on to a segment that we cover on a monthly basis.
Bub is back on top.
Bub is back. All right. So what we have here is we have this segment called Rookie Watch. It's essentially just kind of wanted to show the progress of some of the top rookies in different categories. And you can see on the left column, that's episode 39. That's today's episode. And these are the rankings as of today. How that compares and contrasts to the episode 32 rankings, which we did, a little bit over a month ago, is what you're going to see. And that's what I wanted to point out is when you see kind of the red and the green letters and all that, that's just showing you the delta in the amount of minutes that has changed, between last rankings episode and this rankings episode. And you can see that for example, Bub Carrington, last time he had 30 minutes per game. Now he's at 29.3. He hasn't changed his ranking. That's what that no change means. He was first last time. He's first this time. That's what that no change means. But his minutes per game dropped by 0.7 points, right? So 0.7 minutes, I should say. So all the way down. So what I wanted to point out here, bro, is that you have one player on your team, on your fantasy team, that's on this list. You have Reece Archie, man. I have Alex Sarr. I have Stefan Castle. Oh, and I have Cody Williams. That surprised me when he was on this list, man, because he doesn't play that many games. But I guess when he plays decent minutes. That's surprising.
Yeah. Well, plus they've had a lot of Laurie Marketing has been hurt. They've had a
Yeah.
lot of players that have been hurt, so they're digging deep into their bench.
But what's
You
interesting,
know, and it doesn't surprise me that, you know, like for example, you know, Reed Shepherd is one of my guys, but he's on a team that he's a playoff team, so he's not going to get very many minutes, right? They're just not going to use him. So all the people that you have here that are reflected, including Reece Arche, they're on teams that are struggling, and so they're playing their younger players a little more than a playoff team would.
But what's interesting, bro, is that I thought your boy Kyle Filipowski would have broken the top 10.
And
but he's actually he was right behind Cody Williams, barely. Okay, so he would have been there. But what surprised me, because I see Filipowski playing a lot more than Cody Williams, but I guess when Cody Williams plays, he plays more minutes. I don't know, man. But anyway, that was surprising. So
you know what's interesting too is Dalton Connect, right? Is for those of you that don't recall or remember, the Lakers tried to trade Dalton Connect for Williams over there in Charlotte.
Mark Williams,
yeah, Mark Williams didn't pass the physical, or at least that's what the Lakers say, and they kind of undid everything. And so I haven't been watching a ton of Laker games, but I'm curious as to what, you know, Dalton Connect's minutes are now after the trade, and, you know, if it affected him in any sort of way.
He's playing like, you know, 12 to 14 minutes a night is kind of what he's playing right now.
Okay, and so that's dropped. That's almost a 10-minute drop per game.
For sure, right. That's why he's not on this list.
Yeah.
And the new entrants on this list are the ones in the bottom, Isaiah Collier and Cody Williams, right? They weren't on the list last time. That's why they're highlighted in yellow. But you can see, like, you know, this list is just kind of an indication of, you know, which rookies are getting the time to be able to be seen, you know, by the people who actually vote for Rookie of the Year, right? So you can see here, Bub Carrington has been getting a lot of minutes, right? Has he been effective in these minutes? We'll find out in the ensuing slides, right? So the next slide, man. Let's go to the next slide. So here we are. These are the top 10 in points per game, okay? Now, Stephon Castle now is in the lead, okay?
Yes.
And he's
been playing really well.
He has been playing very well. And you can see that, you know, he's scoring 12.6 points per game compared to last time, which was 10.9. So it's up by 1.7, which is what you see in the green, you know, plus 1.7. But the up 4 tells you he's moved up 4 slots, right? So he's moved up from last time he was 5th, you know, in the rankings of in episode 32 to now he's on 1st, right? Then you get, again, bro, I want to point out
which by the way, I want to point out, the later we go into the season, the harder it is to move up and down this list.
Oh, for sure, because they're pretty much entrenched right now in this list, right? You know, in the rankings right now. So, but I want, you know, there's 2 of your boys on this list, bro. Okay, you got Zachary Reese-Arche and you have Dalton Connect. Okay,
correct.
Then you got me. I got Alex Sarr. I have Zach Edey, and then I also have Stephon Castle. I think I'm going to win that vote. That little bet. It's all right, man. It's all right, bro.
I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about
it. But you can see Khalil Ware
and what's interesting is, you know, Khalil Ware, who we were impressed with in the summer league,
and
really hadn't played at all. You know, he wasn't showing up on any of these lists in any way, shape, or form. And now, you know, in terms of points per game, he cracked the list. He cracked the top 10.
Exactly. So Khalil Ware is now he's on this list, and then Keyshawn George is now on this list as well. All right. Yep. So, you know, as far as points per game, because let's give it to the freaking Washington Wizards. They're playing their guys. They drafted 3 guys and they're playing all their guys, right? They are the worst team in the league for a reason, right? Because, you know, they're trying to get Cooper flagged, man.
They are trying to. Everyone's trying to get Cooper flagged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, man. All right, so let's go on to the next one. So this is kind of what I wanted to focus on the overall statistical rankings. Yep. This is kind of what we do, you know, in our fantasy league, is I kind of keep track of points, rebounds, assists, blocks, turnovers, and all of these factor in. And from a website that I kind of looked at here that kind of came up with these numbers, the rankings that you see on the episode 32, which I didn't put there, but that was episode 32. Zach Edey was the number 1 guy from an overall effectiveness standpoint. If you look at his effectiveness on a per minutes basis in accumulating stats, he was number 1. He's number 1 again. Okay, so is Alex Sarr. He's number 2. That hasn't changed. The top 2. Now Donovan Clingan has moved up now to number 3. He's moved up. You know, he was the number 5 guy. He's getting a lot more playing time in Portland, right? Now I think, you know, what's his name? I forgot his name. The guy who's the center. Oh, DeAndre Ayton. That's the guy. DeAndre Ayton has been in and out, right? He's been hurt, you know, and Donovan Clingan out of Portland now has been playing more. So he's taking advantage of his opportunity. Missy is another guy who as a essentially he slipped by one, but he's been getting a lot of playing time in New Orleans. I mean, New Orleans is, they're a team that has tanked big time, and they're giving kudos to them to give a guy like him the more playing time. Khalil Ware is a guy who's been getting a lot of playing time, as you mentioned as well. So and check it out, number 10, Quentin Post. Quentin Post, yes, he has entered the building. Okay, now he's now the 10th most effective rookie in the list. So, and then your boy Zachary Boucher wasn't on this list last time, but he's now on this list this time, right?
Correct. And and what I find fascinating about this, Eddie, is obviously I'm sure you have a slide that's going to show who NBA's
correct. That's the next slide.
At MVP, and there's, I mean, obviously like Quentin Post. Yeah, I'm excited he's here, but his minutes played are significantly less than most of these guys on the team. I mean, he just hasn't played very many games. Right. But it really, for someone like Donovan Clingan, it's really kind of unfair. Where this guy's been playing, had some minutes, but on your other list, he doesn't show up because he's not getting as many minutes. He's not scoring as many points, but he's getting rebounds, assists, blocks, those types of things. And those should count for something. And the NBA, when they do their, woo celebrating and their pom poms, it's all about points. That's who we focus about. That's all we
focus on. Exactly. Yeah. Right. They don't look at it from this standpoint. They don't look at it from this standpoint. This tells you right here how effective a player is in accumulating stats. Now, does it correlate to winning? I don't know. I mean, usually the guys because I play fantasy, basketball, and we play fantasy sports. The guys that accumulate stats usually are are the better guys in the league. Now, they can't help it if they're on a bad team, right? So, you just anyway. This is a true indicator of how good a player is. Now, if we can go to the next slide, you can see now that unfortunately the number 213 got in the way of Stephon Castle, but you can see that the NBA.com has Stephon Castle as the number one guy, right? Correct. What's interesting is that Stephon Castle wasn't even on this list on the analytics. Correct. He was actually I think number 11 or number 12. He was right behind Quentin Post. Now again, they're looking at it from a per minute basis. Okay. They're not looking at a per game basis. They're looking at a per minute basis of how these guys accumulate stats, right? Whether that's right or wrong. But it's interesting. Stephon Castle is number one. He's on the analytics list. Zach Edey's number 2, and he's on number 1 on the analytics list. Yep. Then Alex Sarr, he's number 8, but he's now number 2 on the analytics list. Donovan Cleveland's nowhere to be seen. Is missing there.
Isaiah Collier.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, and then Khalil Ware there. He's Khalil Ware and he's Missy are both there. Bud Carrington, that's accurate, right? Keyshawn George, not to be seen. Okay, Jalen Wells for sure. He's number 3 on the list according to NBA.com. Yeah, he's number 8 on the analytics standpoint. Zachary Boucher is number 6. He's number 8 on the number 9 on the analytics, and Quentin Post is nowhere to be seen. Right, so very interesting process. But I think analytics aside, to me, Stephon Castle, I think, is a rookie of the year. So I think they got it.
Yeah, right. I think I agree with you. I think Stephon Castle is going to win rookie of the year. I don't see, and the kid who was playing Ivy, who was playing good over in Philadelphia, he got hurt, and so.
Oh no, not you're talking about Jared McCain. Jared McCain.
Sorry, Jared McCain.
Yeah, he's been hurt.
Sorry.
He's been hurt.
Yeah, he's been hurt, and he was. Yeah. I think he would have been on this list. It would have definitely been someone that would have had an impact here. He's been hurt, but yeah, I agree with you. I think Stephon Castle at this point is pretty close to. The cement is poured. It's not quite dried yet, but it's getting there.
It's there, man. And what's interesting on the analytics, rankings, actually, Jared McCain was actually number 1. He actually was number 1, but I omitted him because he hasn't played in like months, dude. So I didn't want to put him there because he hasn't been playing, right?
Oh, so Stephon Castle was really number 2?
No. I'm saying Jared McCain, the guy that you just pointed out from the Sixers. Yeah. He actually was number 1 on the analytics rankings.
Oh,
Zach Edey is right now.
Gotcha.
He was number 1, but I omitted Jared McCain because he hasn't played in a long time.
I got you.
From a per minute standpoint, he was number 1 by a lot. Actually. Okay, gotcha. But I took him out just because he.
So from an analytics perspective, Zach Edey was number 2 on both.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Which, correct. If you look at it from that perspective, then he should probably win Rookie of the Year.
but I think Stephon Castle, I think is.
No. I think Stephon Castle's going to win it. He's more exciting. I agree. But if you look at it from the numbers perspective, Zach Edey probably should win.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's going to be close. It's going to be between those two. All right, it's going to be between those.
No,
two.
But I'm with you. I think Stephon Castle is going to win it.
Yeah,
but from an analytics perspective, he's not even in the top 10.
That's what's interesting, man.
Yeah,
isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
that tells me he's not the most. He's not the most efficient on a per minute basis.
Correct.
He may get a lot of points, but it might take him 35, 40 minutes to get there, right?
Correct.
So anyway,
speaking of, now that we're talking about Stephon Castle, really quick, as you guys may already know, I know we're a week behind, but Wemby had a blood clot in his shoulder.
Yeah.
He's out for the season. For those that don't know, that blood clot situation was the same thing that ended Chris Bosh's career. And so I don't think it's serious. The Spurs have said that they expect him to return, and they're not concerned. Who knows? That might just be media talk, but that would be a considerable shot to the league. I mean, because he is shaping up to be a hell of a player. He already is a hell of a player. And so these tall guys, especially these like 7'4". I mean, I think of George Marason. I think of
Manute Bol.
I mean, Manute Bol actually had a pretty lengthy career. I think he played like 10 seasons.
Yeah.
But these really, really tall guys, they don't. Yao Ming only played
Sean Bradley
played barely 5 seasons. These guys don't play a lot of seasons. And so, anytime that Wemby's misses right now is potentially risky on an already maybe shortened career overall. And so that was really a big hit. I think the Spurs had sights to try to crack that top 10 in the playoffs and try to do something.
That's why they made that trade.
Now they may be in the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. I don't know.
For sure.
What's happening. I mean, Greg Papa too was or Greg Popovich was
he had a stroke, mini stroke.
Yeah, no, but what's announced is he's done. He's not coming back for this
year.
He's
not coming back.
We don't know what his future holds. So San Antonio's in a little bit of flux, overall. So it's going to be interesting. But I thought it was important that we just quickly point that out about Wemby being out and the impact that could have in the league.
Oh, for sure, man. And the guy is such a beast of a player. He's incredible, man.
We both had him as our defensive player of the year, which he'll.
And what's funny is that what's interesting, he doesn't qualify for it now.
He won't qualify
because he hasn't played. I think he's short by like 5 or 6 games.
Correct.
Or something like that. I forgot how many. I think you have to play 60 games or 64 games, whatever it is, right, to qualify. And he can't qualify. So now
don't be surprised if a certain Draymond Green's going to.
Draymond Green is now trying to step up to be that guy, right?
Yeah.
All right,
man. Rudy Gobert was the one who won it the last couple of years, but he's been out, and I don't know what his status is. And I think Draymond would blow a head gasket if Rudy wins it again. He hates that.
I know. But no, Draymond Green's been playing well, so he's definitely in the running for sure, man.
Yeah.
All right, so. All right, man. So let's go on to the next segment. That closes out our rookie watch. Again, we cover that every month, right? So, all right. So let me go ahead and get rid of this. So we're now on the conference seedings and rookie fantasy league update. We spent about 3 to 4 minutes to kind of go over this, but Twan and I had started out with what we projected as the rankings for each conference, and that which you can see is for each of these columns, the ones that are highlighted in kind of orangey, light orange, are the Western Conference, and then the East or the blue. Twan's first, me second, as you look left to right. And then each of those have an actual and a projected. And the projected is what we picked as the seedings. Now, last week, you were up by 61 to 58, right? And then now you can see that you are now up 59 to 54. Okay, you picked up some, and then the big change right now is just in the Eastern Conference, And how we do this is based on where they are ranked. You get 5 points with the exact same slot of where they're at, right? So you can see in the Eastern Conference, if you look at Twan's, the Bucks, he had him at number 5, they're actually at number 5, so he gets 5 points, right? So, and then you see the Bulls, he has him at number 10, 5 points. That's how you get it. Now, 3 points is like for the Celtics, he has them at the second rank, and then he actually projected them to be number 1. They're at number 2. So they're being 1 away, you get 3 points, right?
Yep.
And then if for 2 slots away, you get 2 points. More than that, you get 0 points. That's why you see a bunch of zeros in the Western Conference, bro. It's ugly, dude. This is.
Well, there's been a lot of teams that have really, really underperformed, and right off the top, the Suns, the Pelicans, even to some extent the Timberwolves. I had them projected as second,
We both did.
You did as well. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, there's been a lot of disappointing. I mean, there's been a lot of disappointment, both in the East and West. I mean, the Sixers in the East, but yeah, there's a lot of zeros. I agree with you. There's a
lot of zeros, man.
I think we're going to end up with a lot of zeros.
Yeah, I mean, and just so you know, the 59 is out of possible 175. Okay, that's excuse me, out of 150. So 59 out of 150, that's the percentage of how well we're doing, right? Overall. So 150 is a
not even half
score.
good.
Not even, but no one would have picked the Western Conference to be like this, man. I mean, if anybody did,
no,
geez.
I agree.
There's no way, man. There's so much movement in the Western Conference. Now everybody knew the Thunder were going to be that good. I didn't see the Grizzlies being that good. No way. And the Wolves, we thought again that we didn't see them slipping that much. We knew the Nuggets were a top 4 team, right? And the Mavs being
I had the Grizzlies as a 9th seed, and I'm thinking, they're gonna have a pretty good season at 9, dude. I think the Nuggets may catch the Grizzlies here, but the Grizzlies are gonna end up in the top 4.
Yeah, no, I agree. They're there, man. They're a very deep team. They scare me because they're just so deep, man. So
yeah.
All right, let's go on to the next one, man. We go on to this is our last slide, right? So what I wanted to show here, bro. And by the way, do you see I have Stephon Castle plus?
Yeah,
50?
I see you're plus 50.
Okay, plus 50. And by the way, the reason why he gets plus 50 is because Swan and I had a bet in the dunk contest because we both had players in the dunk contest in our fantasy league. He had Matas Bucelis, and I had Stephon Castle. And Stephon Castle was in the finals and actually did pretty well compared, to Mac McClung, right? He didn't jump over any cars or do any ladder things right there, but he was respectable there, man. So with that, you can see that, over the course of the last week, okay, you have from game number 51, I gained 10 points on you. From game number 52, you actually came back and won by another 20 points. Game 3, we've been seesawing back and forth, right? You can see that there's a lot of ground for you to make up, and then you made up a lot of ground in game number 57 right now. Okay.
Yes.
Well,
we still have Stephon Castle that has to play.
I still have Stephon Castle, and then you have Dalton Connect, right? But you can see that, and then right now in game number 58, you only have one guy that played, and look at that, 31.1 points by Matas Buzelis.
Buzelis.
Yeah, but look at Filipowski in game number 57, 47.7 points. Look at Resar Shea, 41.7.
Yes,
dude, that's a major. I mean, that's what you need from here on out, bro.
I agree. I don't think I'm gonna get it. Although Buzelis, he's kind of up and down, but in an upward trajectory. So I'm hoping he can average, somewhere close to 20 points a game. I mean, 20 overall standings. But we'll see. Shepard's the one that's just going to be the death of me because I didn't think the Rockets would be as good as they are, and they're fighting for position. And Shepard's just not going to see, man. He's just not going to get minutes. He's just not going to.
No, he's not. And the thing is, what's interesting, he was your second pick. Okay, Cody Williams was my third pick. I think he was. And so your second pick and my third pick are very close in points, right?
Correct.
But look at Sar and look at Castle. Now Castle scoring 1246 possible fantasy points, compared to Zach Edey from that, from the NBA.com rookie ladder. Those are the top 2. And if you can see that disparity, almost a 300-point disparity in terms of stats accumulated in scoring points, Castle by far is the rookie of the year right now. Yeah,
right. But from that sense, you're right. Correct.
From that standpoint, yes. But the numbers show that he should be the rookie of the year from just
he will be. He will be.
Yeah, but if you look at the numbers here, Zach Edey versus Alex Sarr has accumulated a lot more. But if you look at it on a per game or per minute basis, probably Edey's probably been better overall. But Sarr has definitely showed that he deserved to be in the top 2. Because it's not a very strong offensive-minded rookie class. These are kind of rotational pieces, in my opinion.
I agree. Most of them are.
Yeah. I mean, Edey is a starter. Castle is, he comes off the bench sometimes. He starts depending on matchups. Sarr starts, right? I mean, the Wizards picked all their players, and they're all starting, man. Bub Carrington, Keyshawn Jordan, and Alex.
But what I'm saying in terms of makeups to being a star, I think Castle can be a star. And I think, and everyone out there can laugh at me, I think Buzelis has what it takes to be a star. Whether he'll be one or not,
we'll see.
That's a different. But he's got the stuff.
he's got the swag, man.
Yeah.
He's got the swag. He's got a lot of swag, man.
Yeah.
So I like that kid, man. So
well, what's interesting though, Eddie, and I'd have to look at games played, but Filipowski is closer to Edey than Edey is to Castle.
Right.
And Filipowski was what, a second round, mid second round pick?
He was a 30th. He might have been the 31 or 32nd pick.
Okay, so he was like right in the early second round.
Yeah, early second round.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So all right, man. So there you have it, man. This is our show, dude. An hour and 5 minutes, dude. We almost
stayed on point.
We almost stayed at an hour, man. But
nice.
This is episode 39, and we talked about the NBA playoff race. There's only 25 games left to go for all the teams, and we looked at how all the teams compare, from a bunch of statistical categories. We definitely focused on net rating as being the true indicator of how good a team is. We also compared how the Eastern and Western conferences compared from each of these categories. And we can see from that from a net rating and overall rating standpoint, the Western Conference looks very dominant when you compare it to the Eastern, which we already knew anyway, but the numbers kind of reflect that as well. Then we dovetailed into the rookie watch, which is something that we cover on a monthly basis. We kind of want to see, if the numbers kind of show that, that whoever's on the top is actually going to be the rookie of the year. Right now, the analytics show that Zach Edey should be rookie of the year according to our analytics, but NBA.com has picked Stephon Castle. And as we looked at our conference seedings and rookie fantasy league standpoint, it looks like Stephon Castle should be the guy because he has accumulated the most points, right? But he looks like he's the guy. So then we and after that, we just talked about, again, the rankings that we do on a per show basis of each of our conference seedings and rookie fantasy contests that we have between us. So I'm going to concede that I already lost the Portland Trailblazer, and you picked the Detroit Pistons. You got that bet. You're going to get yourself a McDonald's Happy Meal, bro. And then,
all right.
And then
I want a Ninja Turtle toy.
and then I'm gonna win this fantasy thing, but we're gonna play it out. We're gonna see what happens, right? Now, again, we're here every Wednesday live because we want to hear from you, and we only had Lewis only chimed in once, man. Hopefully, you chime in more next time, man. But all of you guys, you can chime in next time. But we're here every Wednesday except for next Wednesday. We're taking next Wednesday off. Okay, so we'll be back here on March 12th live to take your comments, your questions, and all that. We're gonna probably really focusing on just the topic is probably just going to be the playoff watch for the most part, and anything else that we can think of at that time, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I don't know if the calendar is going to line up, but I'd really like to talk about when Luka goes back to Dallas. I'd like to talk about that game. I think that might be happening within the 2 weeks that we're out. Another thing that's fascinating is we're homers, but the Warriors climbing up that ladder. A couple of weeks ago they were the 11th seed. They're now the, I believe, 8th seed. And where they're going to do. So I'd like to maybe hit on that a little bit. And then I'd like to just kind of discuss, are Cleveland Cavaliers the real deal? Because metrics, everything
show that they are.
Yeah,
the metrics show that they are for sure.
But the media, everyone thinks Boston's and they're the defending champions. I think Boston's the team to win, team to beat. But
I still think they are the team to beat, man. They
correct. But I think that it could be the Thunder. I think easily could be the Thunder because the Thunder are everything the Cavaliers are and maybe a little more, from a statistical perspective. So, if we ended up with a Cleveland Cavalier Oklahoma City Thunder finals, I wouldn't mind.
I wouldn't mind it either.
Yeah, that would be a pretty exciting thing to watch.
Two small market teams, man. The NBA probably wouldn't want to see that. What the NBA would like to see is the Warriors against the Celtics again. That's what the NBA
of course, or the Lakers against the
Celtics, right? Or the Knicks versus the Lakers.
Correct. Any of those markets,
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. So, anyway, this is
Lewis. Lewis
says enjoy your week off, Eddie and Anthony. See you fellas in 2. Right on, Lewis. Thanks for listening.
Sounds good, Lewis.
So anyway, this is episode 39 of Buzzer Beaters. We are a property of grumblingsmedia.com. You can find us on grumblingsmedia.com as well as any other popular podcast outlet you can think of: Facebook, X, Pandora, Spotify, you name it. We're there. Just make sure you call out Grumblings Media or Buzzer Beaters. This is Eddie Aparicio. This is my co-host, Anthony Tuan Corral. We are also known as the Cisco Kids, and we will see you here again on Wednesday, March 12th at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Just mark your calendars and be here because we like to hear your commentary. We're here live for a reason. Anyway, again, This is the Cisco Kids. We are going to go ahead and sign off. Have a good week, and we'll see you again.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these two boxes.